How to educate your child with the Kybalion. What if parenting was never meant to be about control, rules, or behavior correction, but resonance? What if the real purpose of education was to awaken consciousness, not obedience? This video will show you how the 7 Hermetic principles can become living tools in everyday parenting, helping your child grow emotionally intelligent, calm, and connected to their inner wisdom. You'll understand why modern motherhood feels heavier than ever. Endless to-do lists, emotional exhaustion, and that silent guilt of feeling disconnected even while doing everything right. Because parenting today is often about performance, not presence. But what shapes a child isn't what we do, it's what we vibrate. Science confirms what ancient wisdom already knew. Studies from Harvard and HeartMath show that a child's nervous system mirrors the parent's emotional state. When the mother breathes slowly, the child's heartbeat synchronizes. When she reacts with tension, the child's brain moves into defense mode. The Kybalion calls this the law of correspondence. As within, so without. The state of the adult becomes the atmosphere of the home. In the next few minutes, you'll learn how to implement these ancient laws in modern, real-life parenting, not as abstract philosophy, but through tangible habits, conversations, and rituals that allow your child to grow up naturally aligned with universal order. By the end of this video, you'll see that raising a child isn't about molding them. It's about remembering that both of you are students of the same energy. Because when a parent lives consciously, the child doesn't need to be taught spirituality. They feel it. 1. The forgotten art of conscious parenting. Parenting used to be instinctive. Before books, experts, and algorithms, mothers learned by listening to their children, to their bodies, to the rhythm of life. Somewhere along the way, intuition was replaced by instruction. We began raising children from the mind, not the heart. The result? A generation of parents striving for perfection and a generation of children starving for connection. The forgotten art of conscious parenting begins with remembering that a child doesn't come to be shaped, they come to be mirrored. The way we handle frustration becomes their blueprint for resilience. The way we talk about mistakes becomes their definition of worth. When a parent slows down enough to notice their own emotions, they start to model awareness instead of reaction. The Kybalion reminds us that every principle of the universe operates through us, not around us. Conscious parenting is simply aligning with those laws. It's the shift from, how do I control my child, to, what is this moment showing me about myself? The child isn't a project, they're a reflection of the parent's vibration. In practice, this doesn't mean becoming perfectly calm or endlessly patient. It means noticing when the storm begins. Instead of yelling, taking one conscious breath together and saying, let's both pause for a second. That small act teaches regulation more effectively than 1,000 lectures. It shows that peace is a choice, not a coincidence. A study from the University of California found that when parents model self-regulation, their children's cortisol levels drop within minutes. That's how real parenting happens, not through explanation, but through embodiment. Conscious parenting is the art of remembering presence in a distracted world. It's the courage to replace perfection with truth, to admit that I don't always get it right, but I'm learning with you. When a child grows in that field of honesty, they develop empathy, not fear. They learn that growth doesn't come from control, but from awareness. 2. Energy before instruction, the invisible language of the mother. Before a child ever understands words, they understand energy. Long before they decode language, they're fluent in vibration. This is why babies calm down in the arms of a grounded mother and become restless around anxiety. It's not magic, it's physiology. The human nervous system communicates through resonance, and the parent is the strongest transmitter in that field. The Kybalion teaches nothing rests, everything moves. That movement isn't just physical, It's emotional and energetic. Every sigh, every pause, every silent thought in a parent creates a vibration that the child mirrors. Harvard's neuroscience department calls it affective contagion. Heart Math Institute calls it coherence. The Kybalion simply calls it law. When mothers understand this, education shifts from words to atmosphere. You teach calm by being calm. You teach respect by embodying it. You teach safety by regulating your own body first. The energy you hold becomes the curriculum your child studies every day. In practical life, this means preparing the environment energetically before any instruction. Before correcting a behavior, take a deep breath together.
Before bedtime chaos, dim the lights, speak slower, reduce stimulation. When tension arises, instead of escalating, lower your tone. Your vibration is the child's compass. One simple ritual can change everything. Breathing in sync for 10 seconds. Research shows that when parent and child breathe together, their heart rhythms align, producing mutual calm. This is education through vibration, energy before instruction. Children raised in coherent energy develop emotional security. They don't confuse fear with authority. They grow knowing that peace is a frequency they can return to, not a reward they must earn. That's the foundation of emotional intelligence. When mothers realize that their vibration is the invisible language that shapes their child's nervous system, parenting becomes less about control and more about coherence. You don't have to say the perfect thing, you just have to embody the state you want your child to learn. 3. The 7 Hermetic seeds, how universal laws shape early development. A child's growth follows the same laws that govern the universe. The Kybalion calls them the 7 Hermetic principles, ancient truths that describe how everything in existence comes into being. When you look closely, these principles already live in your child's natural development. Education then becomes not an act of teaching, but of nurturing what is already there. The first years of life mirror the law of mentalism. Everything begins in the mind. The imagination of a child is their first creation space. When a mother validates their inner world, "Tell me what you imagined," instead of dismissing it, she cultivates mentalism. The child learns that thoughts are seeds. Correspondence unfolds when a child starts mirroring their parents. Their emotions, tone, and rhythm echo the environment. When the home is calm, the child learns coherence. When the home is chaotic, they learn reactivity. The child is the living proof of as within, so without. Vibration emerges in the music of their emotions. Laughter, cries, excitement, all are frequencies seeking harmony. The parent's role isn't to mute the sound, but to help them tune it. "Let's breathe until it feels soft again" is a way of teaching vibrational awareness. Polarity appears when a child discovers opposites, joy and sadness, courage and fear. Instead of labeling emotions as good or bad, a conscious parent helps them notice the movement between them. This builds emotional intelligence instead of suppression. Rhythm shows up in routines and transitions, eating, sleeping, playing, or resting. When parents honor cycles instead of forcing control, the child learns flow and trust in life's timing. Cause and effect is learned through natural consequence, not punishment. When a cup spills, the child helps clean it. When they speak with kindness, kindness returns. This is the physics of consciousness in action. And gender, the balance between action and receptivity, is reflected when a child learns that strength and sensitivity can coexist. Boys are allowed to feel, girls are allowed to assert. Both energies live in everyone. By recognizing these laws in daily parenting, a mother doesn't have to explain the Kybalion, she embodies it. The child doesn't study philosophy, they live coherence. 4. Mind as garden, planting mentalism in everyday thought. The first principle of the Kybalion says, "The all is mind." Everything begins as a thought before it becomes form. In parenting, this principle translates into understanding that a child's inner dialogue will one day become their outer reality. The words they repeat to themselves shape who they believe they are, and that belief directs their entire life. When we help a child observe their thoughts, we're teaching the foundation of self-mastery. It's not about control, but awareness. For example, when a child says, "I can't do this," instead of immediately correcting or consoling, pause and say, "Let's listen to that voice. Does it feel true, or is it just a thought passing by?" That simple question trains discernment. The child begins to recognize that they are not their thoughts. They are the observer of them. In real motherhood, this principle can be practiced through play and imagination. During bedtime stories, you can say, "Let's imagine a bright light in your mind that grows when you think something kind." The child visualizes their mental energy and learns that attention is creative power. Over time, they discover that when they focus on what they want instead of what they fear, their emotional state changes instantly. That is mentalism in motion. Neuroscience supports this ancient law. Repeated thoughts rewire the brain's neural pathways. What we imagine consistently becomes familiar to the nervous system. When parents nurture positive internal language, "You're learning" instead of "you're wrong," they're sculpting the architecture of the child's confidence.
This is the true essence of conscious parenting. Not filling the child with ideas, but cultivating a mind that knows how to think. And when that garden is nurtured with love, curiosity, and presence, the child grows with a silent understanding of how creation works. They learn that every thought is a seed, every word a vibration, and every belief a reality waiting to bloom. A mother who understands this doesn't need to push growth. She simply tends to the soil, because when the mind is clear, creation is inevitable. 5. Rhythm and flow. Replacing control with presence. The Kybalion teaches everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. This is the law of rhythm, and nowhere is it more visible than in motherhood. Children live in constant oscillation between energy and rest, joy and frustration, expansion and withdrawal. When a parent learns to flow with these rhythms instead of resisting them, harmony replaces exhaustion. Real-life parenting often feels like a battle against time. Rushing through mornings, forcing naps, fighting tantrums. Yet every moment of resistance is a moment disconnected from rhythm. The Hermetic view invites a shift. Observe the pattern before reacting. Every child has their own emotional and physical cycles. Some wake slowly, others run fast. Recognizing their rhythm is an act of respect for their individuality and for nature itself. In practice, this means responding, not imposing. When your child resists bedtime, instead of demanding silence, meet the rhythm. Lower your voice, dim the lights, create softness. The environment teaches what words cannot. Now, we slow down. When mornings feel chaotic, introduce a transitional ritual. Lighting a candle, a song, a breath, something that signals movement between states. Rituals anchor rhythm. Neuroscience confirms that predictable transitions build security. The brain thrives on flow, not force. Studies show that children who experience consistent rhythms develop stronger emotional regulation and reduced anxiety. Rhythm gives the nervous system a map. It knows what's coming next. This law also applies to the parent. Some days you're the calm sea, other days the storm. Awareness allows you to surf both. When you flow instead of fight, you teach your child the same. You become the embodiment of stability amid change, showing that peace doesn't mean stillness. It means movement without resistance. The rhythm of a home is not defined by clocks, but by presence. When a mother listens to her child's tempo, she aligns with the natural music of life. She no longer forces harmony. she becomes it. 6. Emotional alchemy, turning polarities into power. One of the most profound teachings of the Kybalion is the law of polarity. Everything has two poles, and opposites are the same in nature, but different in degree. For a parent, this principle becomes the art of emotional alchemy, helping a child see that every feeling carries its own medicine. Anger can transform into courage. Fear can shift into awareness. Sadness can soften into compassion. The emotion is not the enemy. It's the raw material of consciousness. In daily life, emotional alchemy begins in moments of tension. When a child screams out of frustration, instead of silencing the emotion, guide them to name it. I see you're angry. That means your energy is strong. Let's use it to fix what went wrong. You've just turned chaos into agency. You've shown that intensity doesn't need suppression. It needs redirection. Real motherhood is full of these moments. There are days when patience runs thin and you feel the same polarities inside yourself. Awareness is the bridge. Taking one breath before reacting. Whispering, "We can handle this," teaches the child by example. They see that emotions are waves, not prisons. From a scientific lens, emotions are electromagnetic responses that last 90 seconds unless fed by thought. The sooner we acknowledge and redirect them, the faster the nervous system resets. Emotional alchemy, then, is not mystical, it's biological. Practice this principle with reflection activities. When your child calms down after anger, ask, what helped the feeling change? This builds emotional literacy. Or when fear arises before school, say, that nervous feeling is your body preparing to be brave. Over time, the child learns not to fear polarity, but to navigate it. The law of polarity reminds both parent and child that light and shadow are teachers of the same truth. There is no good or bad energy, only energy that needs direction. When a mother models this understanding, the home becomes a place of transformation, not repression. In the end, emotional alchemy is not about fixing feelings. It's about trusting that every emotion carries a hidden lesson in power, waiting to be discovered. 7. The ecology of cause, teaching responsibility without guilt. The law of cause and effect states that nothing happens by chance.
Every action, word, and thought sets energy into motion that returns in kind. For parenting, this principle redefines discipline. Instead of punishment, it becomes awareness. The goal isn't to make a child afraid of mistakes. It's to help them understand the invisible thread between choice and consequence. In real-life motherhood, this looks like turning everyday events into lessons in responsibility. When a toy breaks after being thrown, instead of scolding, say, "That toy felt your anger. Let's fix what we can together." The focus shifts from guilt to repair. The child feels capable, not condemned. They begin to connect cause and effect naturally, how their energy affects the world around them. Neuroscience explains why this works. Children build moral reasoning not from fear, but from mirrored empathy. When they experience restoration after an error, the brain releases oxytocin, reinforcing trust and learning. Fear shuts down learning. Connection expands it. The Kybalion described this long before science did. Energy always returns to its source. Practical application of this law means inviting the child into reflection rather than reaction. After a difficult moment, ask, what do you think happened because of that choice? What could we try next time? This transforms discipline into dialogue. It teaches accountability without shame. In a deeper sense, the law of cause and effect also heals parents. Many carry guilt for past moments of impatience or disconnection, but guilt only repeats cause. Awareness transforms it. When a mother forgives herself, she models emotional responsibility in its highest form. The child learns that mistakes don't define us, responses do. This principle creates an ecology of consciousness in the home. Every member contributes energy, and each action becomes feedback, not judgment. It's a living system of reflection. And when the parent embodies it with grace, the child grows understanding that life isn't about avoiding error, but about learning from every ripple they create. Cause and effect reminds us that responsibility and love are the same frequency. Both return to their source, amplified. 8. The legacy of the new mother, raising souls for a conscious future. There is a silent revolution happening inside every conscious home. It doesn't begin in schools or in systems. It begins in the heart of a mother who chooses presence over perfection. The new mother understands that her greatest legacy isn't what she gives her child, but what she awakens in them. The Kybalion calls it the law of gender, the union of active and receptive forces. This balance lives in modern motherhood, the strength to lead and the softness to listen. Raising children for a conscious future means embodying both, being structure and flow, guidance and space. When a mother holds that equilibrium, the child grows with emotional stability and spiritual coherence. This generation of children will inherit a world where knowledge is abundant, but wisdom is scarce. They don't need more information, they need models of consciousness. And that begins when mothers integrate these ancient principles not as theory, but as a rhythm, the rhythm of breath before reaction, of compassion before correction, of awareness before advice. From this vibration, parenting becomes an act of creation. Every meal shared with gratitude teaches abundance. Every apology models humility. Every moment of silence plants the seed of mindfulness. These are not lessons spoken. They are frequencies transmitted through love lived deliberately. The new mother doesn't strive for sainthood. She knows she will lose patience, forget balance, and start again. But she also knows that each time she returns to awareness, she shifts the energy of her entire lineage. That is evolution, the slow, steady expansion of consciousness through presence. One day, these children will lead with empathy, innovate with intuition, and live with reverence for all life. And when that happens, it will be because someone somewhere once chose to parent with awareness instead of fear. So, as this video closes, remember this truth. You are not just raising a child, you are shaping the vibration of tomorrow. Every act of conscious love, no matter how small, alters the field of humanity. That is the real magic of the Kybalion in motherhood. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments, "I raise souls for a conscious future," because the world doesn't change through information, it changes through vibration, and your home is where that new frequency begins.